Hello and welcome to Visual Design. This course is going to be structured in a way where we are going to do a few PowerPoints first and understand the theory behind visual design. Then we are going to go into the practical application of visual design. The best way I can describe visual design is it is very similar to a puzzle. A puzzle has very specific individual pieces, but when put together, it makes a beautiful picture. So that is very similar to visual design. My interpretation of visual design is that there are 5 aspects that kind of make up the whole picture that is visual design. The first aspect is aesthetics. The second one is images. The third one is colors. The fourth one is fonts. And the final one is layout. An important aspect of visual design is the Gestalt principles. I may be butchering this name, but you get the general idea. And this school of thought was founded in the 20th century. It emphasizes that the whole composition is greater than its individual parts. So going back to visual design, it is very similar to the puzzle. While you have a whole bunch of specific smaller pieces, when it's put together, you have a whole design that is interpreted rather than the individual parts. The first principle is called similarity, and that basically means that while objects may be spaced evenly, our eyes are drawn to the accent color. And this kind of goes into the idea of color being a great part of your design and visual design, because typically you have a neutral palette and then you have one accent color so that you can emphasize a specific word or a specific shape within the composition. So continuation is the natural way our eyes will follow words on a page. Our eye will want to see a continuous flow of visual elements rather than trying to group them into individual pieces. And proximity is the way our eyes and our brains form connections. So our eyes and our brains will look at a composition and it will naturally pull images together into groups. And one way that I think of this is when you're looking at a website, you'll have columns, headers, rows. Your eyes and your brains will naturally group those together into one design. So closure is when your brain is filling in the missing lines. And we know that this is a square and we know that this is a circle. Our eyes and our brains work together to make this a whole image. Now, this is one of my favorites. It's figure ground. If you take a second to look at it, it is basically creating an optical illusion using the foreground and the background. Now, I'm curious to know, do you guys see 2 people looking together, or do you see a chalice? It's really trippy, and I love how it's like such an amazing optical illusion that is made. So I personally saw the 2 people facing each other first, but you see this a lot in repetitive background designs, or they have a lot of things on the internet. I get sucked into it where you can see like the optical illusion, is this moving? What colors do you see? What shapes do you see? So this can be very powerful within a composition, but this is like a good example of how your eyes and your brains work together to make you see something. Finally, symmetry and order is creating a balanced design. Our mind and our eyes want balance, and in order to achieve that, we have to create symmetry and order. This really meshes well with the idea of hierarchy and grid alignment, which we'll be discussing in the next lecture. But the overall idea is that we want to be able to make sense of a design. We want something that looks appealing. We want something that is balanced. If it's off, our brain and our eyes will make us aware of that, and it'll just look kind of strange. So this is an important principle within the 6 principles. So that is the end of this lecture. I'm going to be re-bringing up these ideas when we go into the practical application. And as always, you'll have access to these PowerPoints if you want to go back and look at them. So go ahead and move on to the next lecture. Hello and welcome to the next lecture. This lecture is going to be about hierarchy, typography, and imagery, which are three very important aspects within visual design. These are important, but I don't want you to get hung up on trying to remember the terminology. I just want you to be aware of these elements so that when we practice it, you'll know what I'm talking about when I reference back to it. But you are going to be hearing these terms over and over again, so don't be afraid of missing anything. They will be brought up again. So hierarchy is the sorting system of information, and it's very important within a design. I like to think about hierarchy when I look at a magazine, and typically the title is the largest, and then you have a little subheading, which is least important because it's in a smaller font, and then you have the body of the article. You are going to want to think about sorting it from the very most important being the largest, and the least important of the information being the smallest. And you will create hierarchy. Now, typography is the visual aspects of words. And don't get me started, I'm a slight nerd on typography, but I have linked a couple resources within the PowerPoint. Fonts in Use is a great website that shows you how to pair up different fonts. TypeWolf is a website where you can find out the trends that are happening within typography. And KernType is a fun game where you can practice your kerning, which is spacing the letters evenly across the word. And it's kind of nerdy. I like playing it. It's a fun game. Those are some really good resources to learn more about typography. We will be going over this again once we go into the practical application of this course. Imagery is very important because it is how you use images to create a balanced design. And as we learned in the last lecture, symmetry and balance are very important within a composition. And you want to not just stick any image in there. You want to tactfully place images that are related to your design within the composition. And one website I love is Pixabay. I cannot get enough of it. They've got video, they've got images, they've got vector graphics, they have got illustrations. Pretty much anything you could want is on that website. Alignment is also very important when you are creating hierarchy and you're creating symmetry and order within the composition. So alignment is basically an arrangement of assets in a composition. And if you go way back, I don't know if you guys did this when you were younger, when you did math, you had graph paper and how everything's arranged in a grid. That is how you should be designing your compositions. And you don't necessarily have to use a grid. You can use straight edges. You can use lines to help align your text and your images together. And when we go into the practical applications, I'm going to show you some of my quick tricks that I use to help get alignment without spending a ton of time aligning the individual components. That is the end of this lecture. We are going to dive into the psychology of color, which I love so much because it is very important when you are creating a design. So go ahead and move on to the next lecture. Hello and welcome to the psychology of color. This is going to be a fun lecture. This is one of my favorite things I loved learning about. So when we're talking about color, I think most of us are familiar with the color wheel. And within the color wheel, there are complementary colors. And an easy way to do it is pretty much the one color that is opposite from it is the complementary color. So red and green go together, which kind of makes sense if you're thinking about Christmas. Purple and yellow go together. Or blue and orange go together. And you can also see blue and yellow also go together. And you can kind of mix and match. But as a general rule, these are the main complementary colors. Now, what does color mean? Because when you're looking at logos and different colors within a design, color does have a meaning. So when we are looking at tones of gray, it is basically meaning that it's balanced, it's clean, and it's calm. For me, when I'm thinking about what color means, I automatically go to logos that are associated with this color. And for me, when I think of balance, clean, and calm, I think about Apple products, and they are known for having a clean design. Also, when I think about balance, I think about the yin and yang sign, and while it does have black in it, black is also a form of gray and white. If you lower down the opacity of black, it turns into gray. So it kind of falls within that color. Now, when you think about green, you can think about nature, soothing colors, healing colors. So one thing that I typically think about when I think about green, I think about John Deere. It's a type of tractor and lawnmower and stuff. And I automatically think of that because it's associated with nature. Tropicana, the orange juice company, is also a green logo, which kind of makes me think about orange juice, nature, kind of health. Also, I don't know if it is everywhere, but we have a Whole Foods market, and their logo is green, and it is a health food store. So once you're kind of aware of what these colors mean, you're going to start picking up when you look at logos, and you're going to be like, wait a second, that logo is green. It's kind of associated with health and nature, and you're going to definitely pick things up. You're not going to see things the same way again. So when we look at the color blue, it is known for trustworthy, calmness, and strength. So one thing that I typically think of when I think of blue, it's the Ford logo, which, you know, they're all about a family company, and it's like the strength of a Ford, as well as Lowe's is trustworthy because it is a home improvement store. They know what they're doing, and it's also associated with calmness because you go there and you're going to have all of your home improvement needs met. Purple is often associated with being creative and imaginative. And if you're familiar with the Sci-Fi Channel, they are very imaginative with their science fiction shows and movies and stuff. Their logo is purple. The Hallmark Channel, or the Hallmark brand, is set on a purple background with a white Hallmark font on it. And it is also known for creative and imaginative. If you think about Hallmark, you think about cards and wrapping paper and their TV and movies and stuff. So purple really surrounds the idea of being creative and imaginative. Now, red is tricky because it can be bold excitement, but it can also be associated with anger. So when I think of red, I always think of Coca-Cola, the signature logo. And for me, that's excitement. They always are playing up the idea of popping the top on a can of Coke. And that's just one thing that I automatically go to. Nintendo is also red, bold and excitement, the excitement of being able to play a new game. Bold also reminds me of the way something evolves throughout time. So you have like the N64, and then now you have like Nintendo Switch. So it's kind of like this bold, cutting edge idea that we can adapt throughout time. So orange is fun because it means friendly, cheerful, and lively. And when I think about orange, I automatically think about Nickelodeon, like the whole Splat logo. And it's friendly, it's cheerful, it's lively, it's a children's channel. It has got a ton of fun content. So that's one that I automatically think about when I think about orange. I also think about the Soda Pop, Fanta, and Crush. They have an orange logo. It's also like an orange drink. But their commercials are always like cheerful and lively. And those are just kind of some of the things that I associate with orange. Of course, yellow means enthusiasm, clarity, and warmth. When I think of yellow, I think of IKEA logo. And they are known for like creating warm environments within your house and being excited to go to one company or one store for all of your needs. And then also I think about McDonald's, the Golden Arch. And when you go to McDonald's, obviously, I think this is kind of a universal. When you're a kid, you love McDonald's and you're excited to go see it because, you know, you love it. And it's full of like warm memories. So that when you're an adult, you always have that comfort food of going back to McDonald's. That might be a personal experience. But that's kind of some of the logos that I associate with the color yellow. And I'm curious to know, what are your associations with these colors? Now, these are all general guidelines. Colors can mean different things to different people, but this is kind of the way I learned color and how color can be impacted with certain feelings and how different companies have used that color to meld with their mission statement of their business. Now, some great resources for color is Design Seed. They have got color palettes that you can use along with the hex codes. And Canva Color Palette Creator is amazing because you can upload a photo and it'll automatically generate a color palette from that photo with the hex colors. It is amazing. Color Hunt is just another amazing website that'll give you inspiration for colors and I'll give you color palettes. We are all done with the lecture forms of this course. I try to keep the lecture part quick, simple, because I'm going to end up referring back to this. So I don't want you to spend too much time listening to me talking. I always love the practical application of design more than listening to lectures. So the next section we are going to be learning about logo design, and we're going to be creating a custom logo. Also within that, the first starting off point of creating a logo or any design is learning how to create a mood board. We're going to be starting off how to research and organize your research into a mood board for your future client or yourself to help you organize your thoughts and the individual components that make up a great visual design. So go ahead and move on to the next lecture. Hello and welcome to the introduction to Canva. I just wanted to take a minute to show you the interface of Canva and kind of how it works. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to sign up for a Canva Pro account, and then you are going to want to either use the website, and what you are going to want to do is you are going to want to download the Canva app. You can use the website for Canva, but I highly suggest using the app. I find that I don't accidentally close out of my Canva tab if I'm doing research and I'm in Canva at the same time. That is just a personal preference, and you can just search Canva app online and then it'll tell you where to download it depending on your operating system. So this is what Canva looks like. You will have recommended templates. Your designs will be stored over here, and they also have various templates depending on what you want. Or you can search for your template or whatever you want to make over here, or if you go to create a design, you can use a custom size. So I'm just going to use 11 by 8.5 because that's one of the things that I was working on. Over on the left hand side, you will have your toolbar, which will have templates, uploads, where you can upload images, photos, elements, and a whole bunch of different things, video. And then you will also have this file where you can also name your document, and you can also show the rulers in case you're wanting to do something specifically with alignment. You can do margins, and you can do a print bleed, which is where it only prints up to this edge within the document. And if you don't want any of those, you can just unselect them. This is a fairly new feature in Canva, and I think that it is just amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to just add some text. And the little circles on the corner can make you enlarge it or make it smaller. If you go over here, you can type in a type of style of font you want, or you can look through here and you can change your font. And the ones with the little crown is Canva Pro. These are the ones that we get when we are subscribed because we get additional features. And right here you can change the font size. You can change the font color. You can change it to italic and bold depending on the font type. Right here you can change the alignment if you want it flush left, center, flush right, justified. You can add bullets. You can do effects. This is also a new one that they put in there, is that you can curve. So you can make a nice arched text, which is pretty cool. And then the ... you can either underline things if you want. The little a, big A means that it'll change it to all caps. And you can add a link if you wanted to. And if you wanted to lock it where you couldn't move it around, you can do that. But I'm going to go ahead and unlock it. Then you also have your positions if you want it at the top of the page, the bottom, the center, in the middle. You can do different combinations. And the transparency is also known as opacity, and it is how see-through your text is. So you could do something like that. You can change it, and we'll be doing that later on in the course. You can also add a page at the bottom, and say if I didn't want this anymore, you can delete it. So we're going to add some text back there. And then this is our downloads, where you can choose what you want to download it as. And the size, if you wanted a larger file size, it automatically scales it up. And then if you want a transparent background, you can click that. And then you hit download, and it'll download to wherever your downloads are saved. So I just wanted to give a quick introduction to Canva, and we'll be going more into this when we start our tutorials. Hello and welcome to the next lecture. This lecture is going to be about how you research your ideas for a new logo or any new design project. In the resources section, you will have access to both of these documents, so feel free to print them out, reuse them on your next project. When I am brainstorming, I think about the keywords that are associated with the name, the key images that are associated with the name, the colors associated with the keywords, and if you think back to our Psychology of Color lecture, that's where that kind of plays in, where if you want to have a logo that is more natural, you might go with the color green. So I like to kind of lay out my color ideas, where to find resources, and then at the bottom I just have general ideas and notes that I have when I'm doing research. We are going to be creating a logo for an online yoga studio called Yoga Now. Now, when I'm thinking about keywords associated with the name, I think about yoga, nature, health, the internet, since it is an online business, exercise, happiness, the happiness that you feel when you exercise, and excitement about turning over a new leaf and starting to become healthier. Key images associated with this name are kind of yoga poses. I think about trees, I think about the internet, and then I also think about like the shapes that I could use within the logo. I'm feeling more of like a curved vibe for this logo, kind of like vines on a tree and leaves. I want to really represent nature within this composition. Also, colors, I think about earth tones, green color, brown, gray, and yellow. Now, some of my favorite resources when I'm doing research is Pixabay and Google Images. And finally, my general ideas and notes about this was I wanted to do a combination of nature and technology, as well as maybe yoga poses and trees, and possibly something to do with like leaves. So I'm going to head over to my internet browser, and I am on Google Images, and I'm going to type in yoga logos and just see what pops up. Now, I do not promote stealing. You should never steal anybody's work. However, I also feel like no one's design is a new design, because you look at different designs and you get inspiration from the curvature of the lotus leaves here or the circle logo style there. But if you look anywhere, everyone gets an idea from everyone else's logo. So I'm just kind of looking through here, looking at some of the color palettes, seeing various placements of the logos. Like this one's got a dark background, This one is on a white background. I kind of like the yoga pose was an idea that I had. What else? Like the yoga pose with the leaves was another idea that I had. So we both had the same ideas. This happens all over the place. It doesn't mean that I stole their idea. It just means that we think alike. Now, if I came off with a design that was almost similar to that, that's stealing. But if I just want to incorporate the yoga pose in it, it's not. So don't get hung up on that, or get hung up on the idea that you have to create something completely new and completely original. So I will go through here, and if I see something that I like, what I will do is, I kind of like that. I like the font on that. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say save image to downloads. And I'm going to save everything to the downloads because you're going to want images, you want color palettes, fonts, various things that you like in order to help create your mood board. So I like the font on that as well as the font on that one. Save images to download. And I like the color of that. Going to save images to downloads, but I really like the coloring on that one a lot better. So I'm going to save the images to downloads. So I got a few images that I like. So I'm going to also go yoga color palettes. And I definitely like that one. So I'm going to open it up and I'm going to save images to downloads. These are the hex codes of the colors. It is nice to have them, but if you pick a color palette like this, you may not have them, and I will show a way that you can go ahead and pick the colors out of it. What I really do like is this purple right here, so I'm going to save image to downloads. I definitely like those colors, the gray, the tan, and the cream color, so I will save the image to download. And I'm just looking through, even like that, that's a cool color palette. But I'm not going to save that to my downloads just because I do not like the watermark on there. And when you're putting together a mood board for your client, you do not want to have stuff with watermarks on it. Personally, I feel like it looks a little tacky, but that's just me. You can do what you want. I love this color palette. Save images to download. And, ooh, I'm loving that shade of green, so I'm going to go ahead and save that to download. So, I think I've got a good set of color palettes for right now. You can always go back and collect more data. So I'm liking what I have right there. So I'm going to go over to Pixabay. I love this website. If you see an image you like, you can click on it. And they've got their license agreement right here. So you always want to make sure that you are using the license appropriately. But I think I'm going to go in here and type in nature. And I'm going to see what comes up if anything pops up that I like. And I'm not seeing too much. That fox is adorable, but I'm not seeing too much that I do like that one. So I'm going to go ahead and download that. You can sign up for it. I do have an account, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. Download. So it'll go ahead and save it to your download. One of the things that I liked was technology. So I'm going to search that in photos. And I'll just search through here. I typically like to set an hour time period when I am doing research. Ooh, I kind of like the curvatures in this photograph. So I'm going to download that. I'm going to go back. And I set a time limit because you can get lost in this real quick. I also like this color palette. It's very natural. I like the tans. I like the different textures. The combination of tan and gray, and that's got like a tanny green vibe. I will download that. And then I think I'm going to research Lotus. Is that how you spell it? There we go. I did spell it wrong. So there you go. I like this color palette, the purple and the black. And it kind of reminds me of watercolor, which is very like natural, I feel like. Download that. What else? Maybe yoga. And then they don't just have photos, which is amazing. So I'm going to go with illustrations and see what happens. So look at all these amazing illustrations. I don't like specifically using these and slapping the company's website on it. I like to get creative and make combinations. So one thing with logos, what you are going to want to do is you're going to want to come over here and you're going to want to go over to the colors. You are going to want to pick the transparent background. And what that'll do is that it will create a see-through background so that if you go to put it on a shirt, it's not going to have a white square, which is not bad. It just depends on the design that you want. It gives you more freedom to create different designs. So definitely love that one. I'm going to download it. I like that one. Free download. And when you're doing these, you always want to pick the largest one and download it. There are so many good poses here. And I will just go through here and I will just pick various images that I like. I like this one, so I'm going to go ahead and download it. So when you've got a whole bunch of stuff created, what I like to do is on my desktop, I like to create a new folder, and I'm going to title it Yoga, the name of my project, logo research. And from there, I'm going to take everything that I have downloaded, and then I'm going to place it in my document, Yoga Now Logo Research. One thing I just thought about adding to it was some watercolor. So what I like to look for when I'm doing logos is I like to, I'm on vector graphics. I want illustrations. And what I like to do is I like to look for something that is, I love that one. I will go ahead and download that. And then, I really like this. So one of my techniques when I am doing a logo design is I will make, and I'll get more into this when we go into creating the logos, I like to make 3 designs, and one of those designs I like to be black and white. And I typically put that one in the middle when I'm showing them because it breaks it up, and either they love the black and white or they completely don't like it and they will just toss that out. We are going to go into all the tips and tricks that I use when I'm presenting logos to clients. So I really like this, so I'm going to download the largest. And I'm going to go back in. I'll put that into my folder, and I'm just going to go ahead and open up my folder just to see what I have in there. An overview. That one. So everything looks pretty good. I kind of like everything. So I've got a good amount of color palettes. I've got some images that I can create color palettes from, or the curvature of the lines. I like the fonts. I could use maybe a few more fonts. It's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm going to go back to Google Images and I'm going to type in modern fonts, maybe. Ooh, see, I really like this one. So I'm going to save image to downloads. I also really like this one. I'm going to save the image to downloads. I really like the thinner fonts. Yeah, that one actually, that's not what I was looking for, but I love the curvature within the font. So it kind of reminds me like the curvature and the soft lines of nature. So I'm going to go ahead and save that to downloads. What else? And these are not fonts that you're probably going to be using because they are expensive. So we're going to see what fonts Canva has got available that are similar to these fonts, because let me tell you, fonts can be expensive. So I'm kind of liking, I'll look at Thin real quick. Then Modern Railway is a nice font. So I will save that to downloads. I want like a paintbrush font to kind of go with the watercolor. And I don't think I want anything too chunky, but I'm not opposed to something chunky. And this is all personal preference and kind of what you think your client will want. Let's see, I like that. I'll save that to downloads. Kind of nice too. Okay, so I think I've got enough fonts. I probably have too many. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to add those to my research. If we're looking at our mood board, we've got quite a few things going for us. So I think this is enough research for now. When we go ahead and compile this into an actual mood board, it may turn out to be a little different. We might need to go back and look at some more images. Either way, this is a good start. I want you to go ahead and move on to the next lecture, but do not forget to review this course. I really appreciate your reviews and hearing your feedback so that when I make my next course, I can make it even better. So don't forget to leave that review and move on to our next lecture where we are going to put all of these individual assets into a mood board. Hello and welcome to creating a mood board. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to log into Canva, and I am using my Canva app. They have an app you can download. I personally love this and I recommend you using it, but if you don't have it, it's okay. Mine just might look a bit different. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into search Canva and we're going to type in mood board. And we're going to do mood boards photo collage. And we're going to start off with a blank template. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create 3 pages. So what you need to do is you go to the uploads, upload media. You're going to want to upload all the files that we acquired when we did our research lecture. I'm going to go ahead and select everything and click open. You can also drag and drop everything. So while the files are uploading, once they're done, they will hit the full bar. I'm just going to start by looking at everything and organizing them into 3 categories for 3 different logos. So for my first logo, I think I'm going to start off with the black and white logo, and I'm just going to click and drag and drop the stuff in. So I really liked this watercolor. I liked this font. And I really liked the purple color. I was inspired by this photo with the water and the watercolor. So here's my main inspiration for this first design. For my second one, I really liked this green color. The lines within this photo. I liked this pose. I thought was really nice. And then I like the railway font for this. I'm going to add that in there. And that was the ones that I really specifically liked for this logo. And then for my third logo, I liked this image. I also liked this specific yoga pose. Oh yeah, and then for this one, I also liked this logo design where it was encased, kind of. For logo 2, and then logo 3, I was drawn to more of a neutral color palette. And specifically, I wasn't so much attracted to the tree, but as the font. So what you can do is if you have something that you like, you can, and you want to crop it, you click on your image and they have these little arrow things. If you move that down, you can just crop it out of there. So I specifically liked the font for that. And then I also liked the look of the nature within this. Here are my main inspirations for each of the logos. And really creating a mood board is partially for your benefit and partially for your client's benefit. Right now, this is going to help you organize your thoughts when it comes to creating your logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down and add a page, and I'm going to type in logo 1, and I'm going to move it up underneath this because we're ultimately going to delete this. We're just trying to organize our thoughts basically and show our process of how we are creating a design. Now we are going to look for a template for our first mood board. And you can look through here. So I can see that I've got about 2 images and then colors that I want to use. So I want to keep that in mind. I could also add a 3rd image. But what I think I'm going to do is, I think I want to use this one. And I do not love the way it looks now, but we are going to change that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this out, and we've got basically 2 photos that we are going to be using as our inspiration. I'm going to go over to my uploads, and I'm going to drop this into the smaller one, and then I'm going to use the watercolor lily as this right here, and then for this image right here, and then I'm going to go over to the color palette and I'm going to do 3 colors basically, and I'm going to do the black, this light gray, and the purple. So I'm going to click on the first one and I'm going to make this black. I'm going to go over to the color wheel, and Canva's got this new feature called pick a color, and you can just, oops, I need to go up a little higher. You can come up, once you have it selected, you can go over to whatever board you want. And I'm going to do it black. The second one will be purple. Just select that, go up a bit. Color drop in the purple. And I'm going to delete that one because I actually don't need that. And then I'm going to color drop that to the gray-ish color. And those are our colors that we are going to use. I think I'll change this one to the black. And then I'm going to not use the type that we found online because we're not going to be able to find this exact font. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go over to text. I'm going to go add a heading. And then I'm going to put yoga now, which is the name of the company. And I will come up here and I'm looking for a brush stroke. And they have a whole bunch of different ones that we can look at. So there's this one, which looks nice. There's that one, which I think I liked this one better. Let's try looking for calligraphy. See what that looks like. I feel like I just keep going back to that one. So it looks like I keep going back to that brush script. Yeah, this is just the one that I'm really feeling. Yeah. So yeah, this is definitely the one that I feel like it looks similar to it. Let's see for the text. Let me highlight my text one more time. Let's try handwriting, see if there's anything different. I kind of like that a lot, honestly. I think I like that one better. You know what? I think I like that one better, honestly. So I'm liking that, and our mood board is looking very nice. I kind of want to shrink this down just a hair. Maybe enlarge this just to kind of make sure everything's a little bit more aligned. I think I will highlight all of these right here. You can click, press down, and highlight, and I will expand it just so that they all kind of line up. And I can go ahead and shrink this down a bit if I want, which I do. And then I'm going to go over to my elements. I'm going to go to brush. And they have different brush strokes and stuff, which I'm going to use instead of this right here. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to add this in, I think, and line it up. And I think I will do this in that gray color. I'm going to do copy and paste it, just so that it's kind of a double stroke looking thing, like two different strokes. I'm going to highlight them both. Then I think I'll put that over there. I'll put that there. And then I like this, so I think I'm going to highlight them both. You can press Shift and click on both of them and copy and paste them. And I think what I'll do is I'll get rid of this, rotate it, enlarge it, and I will change it to the purple color. I'll delete that one. Actually, after all, I'm going to end up deleting this. Copy and paste this. Change it to black. Send it backwards. I'm going to right click, send backwards. And this is what, and I want this behind this, actually, behind this photo right here. I'm going to send backward so that it's behind there. That looks a lot better. Then I'm going to scoot this up and put it behind this photo. And that is what my logo 1 looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in logo 1, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to delete this. So here is our first mood board. What we are going to do is we are going to do the same with each mood board. So what I do like to do is I like to make my mood board slightly different. So I'm going to scroll the way down, add a page, move it up, and I'm going to scooch it down one more so I can look at my reference. So this one is a little bit more contemporary. So I'm going to go to my templates and I'm looking for one that's a little bit more modern looking and a little bit more contemporary. So I'm going to have 3 pictures and 3 colors. So I'm looking for something that has possibly more cleaner lines. I like this one a lot. Whoops, and as you can see, I accidentally deleted my page. So if that happens, simply go to undo, and then go to the page you want, click on it, and add that. So I do not like these on here, which is 100% fine. I'm going to change this to white. I think I might change my mind, but I'm going to go over to my uploads. I'm going to add this right here. I'm going to add my yoga person sitting. I'm going to make this larger so that they're not cut off. The head needs to go up. Perfect. I can shrink this down. I just want to make sure that it's 100% on top of it. I'm going to arrange. I'm going to bring this forward so that it's above here. So I have that. And then I've got my other photo to add, which is this image right here. And once again, I'm just going to make that a little bit wider. I'm going to enlarge this a bit so that I just crop out the bottom. I will move this over, and then I'm going to get rid of one of the bottom colors because I only want 3 colors. I'm going to enlarge it so that it lines up to the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that, go over to the color picker. I liked this color. I liked this other green, and then I wanted a light tan color. I kind of like that color, but I wanted a little bit more of a cream color. Oops. So I'm going to use this one color palette we had for the 3rd mood board, and I'm going to just drop it in there, and I'm going to highlight my colors, and I will make it this more of a creamy color. Yes. I'm going to make it more of this like cream colored. This might change when we get to our design, but this is just a starting off point. And then I'm going to change this background to this lighter green. And then I'm going to go over to text, add heading. I'm going to put yoga. Now. And I'm going to change it to black. And then I'm going to change it to railway, but I also see railway thin, and I like that much better. So I'm just going to enlarge it so that it is in line. So this is what our logo to mood board looks like. So what we can do is we can go over here and we can delete that. So for logo 3, I'm going to add a page. And I will scoot that up. I'm looking for a very simple mood board template. I'm kind of liking this one. So I'm going to go to uploads. I liked this one. Use that. And then I've got a longer photo. So I'm going to expand on this. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to use the arrows to enlarge it. Elements. Nope, I need to go over to upload, put in my image here, and I'm going to extend this background color because I really do like that. And then I'm going to take this, and I think what I'll do is I'll enlarge this, and I will enlarge the yoga person. And then I will put yoga now up here. And you know what? I actually like that typeface. Let's see, let's look at here. Yeah, that is a very similar typeface to that. I like that. You never know what will work when you pick a template. Sometimes it just magically works. So I'm going to click on my color, and I think I will do a gray color. Color drop. Scroll down. I really like that turquoisey color. And I can see that this is going to interfere with the color of the background. So one thing I might do is I'm just going to lower the opacity of the background to about 25. And then my final color will be this cream color, I think. And then black will be in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all three of these. Oops. I'm going to rotate them vertically to 90 degrees if I can. And then I'm going to enlarge them, I feel like. To the top, about the top of the letters, all the way down to the bottom. And what I actually might do is I might put this on the right. I will send this to backwards. And I actually think I want them smaller now that I look at it. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an alignment of 4. And then I will just add black to my color palette. And honestly, I think that these two can be moved closer together to this. That means I can enlarge it a little bit more. And that is my final I think that's about good. And that is my final mood board. So I'm going to label it logo 3. And then I'm going to delete this one down here. And here are our 3 logo mood boards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download it, but instead of PDF, I'm going to do PNG. And I'm going to download all of my files. And once my files have been downloaded, I'm going to save them for when I start doing my logo design. So here are version 1 of mood boards. What we're going to do is we're going to do our logos, and then we're going to go back and we're going to add them to our mood boards, and we might tweak a few things with our mood boards, maybe the color palette, to better reflect the actual design of the logo. So this is the end of our mood board lecture. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a review and go ahead and move on to our next lecture, where we are going to be creating our first logo. Hello and welcome to the first logo design of this tutorial. Today we're going to be making this logo, and the first thing that you are going to want to do is you're going to want to download your logo resources PDF. And this is what your PDF should look like. We will have the image assets as well as what specific fonts we're using and the colors. So you're going to want to go ahead and download that resource file, and you're going to want to download the images that we will be using. So once you're in Canva, you're going to want to go over to the search bar, and you are going to want a logo design. Now, what we are going to do is we're going to go to the Uploads tab, and we are going to upload our first mood board. Once you have located the file, you're going to open it up. And we're going to place it in this page so that we have a good reference to what colors we're going to be using and our main inspirations. So the logo we are going to be making today is this logo. The first thing that we are going to want to do is that we are going to want to add a page. And I'm going to go over to my upload media and I'm going to upload the background that I downloaded from the resource file. That is the watercolor from the mood board up here. And I'm going to, while that is uploading, go over to Elements and I'm going to type in Frame. I'm looking for almost a lily pad shape for the logo. So I'm going to scroll down to my main page. And I'm going to, within the elements, I searched for frames. I'm going to look for a circular frame. And I see a couple cool ones. I think I like this one the best because it's more circular as opposed to this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge it. And we want to stay within the boundaries of our artboard right here, or our page. And we are going to enlarge it so that it stays within here, because if we make it go off to the gray, it'll cut it off once we download it. And I'm just going to change this to black. And then I'm going to click on it. I'm going to, you can either right click copy and right click paste. What's cool about Canva is that they have a really quick shortcut pop-up that you can use. So I have it pasted, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my uploads and I'm going to drag and drop in my watercolor. So that looks pretty cool. What I want to do is I want to shrink it down so that it's got a nice border around it. And I kind of want to center it so that the border has the same width all the way around. And I think that that can be made a little bit larger. I think I want a bit thinner border. And that looks good. I like the way that it is looking. If we go back up here, we can see that we need to add our text and our brush stroke that I wanted to incorporate within the design. So I'm going to start off by the text, and I'm going to add a heading, and I'm going to type in Yoga Now. And because I'm using a handwriting font, I want to make sure my Y is capital and my N is capital and nothing else is. And I'm going to go over to the text, and our text is called Bright Sunshine, so you can click on it and you can search for Bright Sunshine. And I'm going to enlarge it. So I have my text highlighted. I'm going to scroll up to my mood board, and I'm going to go over to the text color and this little color wheel box. I'm going to click on the picker, and you can hover over the color you want and it automatically changes it. Or if you're working off our resource sheet, you can go ahead and copy and paste the hex code in right here. I just find the color picker easier, and that is a new feature that they only have in Canva Pro, and that is what they also have like in Adobe. So it's super amazing that Canva is really trying to compete with Adobe and add new features consistently throughout the year. So this is what we have so far, and I'm really liking the way it looks. So I'm going to go over to my elements, and I'm going to search for a brush stroke, I think. So I'm going to type in brush and see what pops up. I think I'm going to go ahead and add brush stroke. So here is what we have so far for our brush strokes. I think I'm liking this one right here. You can use whatever you want if you want to customize it. And I'm going to enlarge it a bit, and I'm going to change it to black. And I think I'm liking the way that looks. And I'm going to go over to the Yoga Now. I'm going to go over to position, and I'm going to bring it to front. And what that does is that it just brings it on top of the paint stroke. And I'm really liking the way it looks. I think I'm going to enlarge it a hair so that it lines up a bit more with the Y right here at the end with the Y and right here at the end with the N, so that it's a little bit more balanced. Like we were exploring earlier, the Gestalt principles, we are creating symmetry and balance. And we're also using the foreground background principle, because by using the black, we're blurring the lines between the outline and what is considered the foreground and what is considered the background. What I'm meaning by that, it could be that this is the black's the foreground and this is the background, our watercolor, or it could be seen as us almost erasing the watercolor and that being the foreground. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go over to text and we're going to click add a subheading. That just makes it a bit smaller than our heading. And I'm going to change it to white. And I'm going to go back over to my resource sheet. So now that I'm in my resource sheet, I'm going to highlight online classes that fit your schedule. And I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to paste it into Canva. And what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to take this tab on the side and I'm going to stretch it out. This does not stretch the text, it just stretches the boundaries of the text box so that it's all on one line. And then I'm going to take the corners and I'm just going to shrink it down, and that alters the size of the text. And then I'm just going to put it right here so it fits on there. Then I'm going to go back to my resource sheet and I'm going to copy my font and I'm going to paste it. Then I'm going to highlight my text and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to paste it and it'll bring up the font. So I'm liking the way that looks. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my arrow keys. I'm going to click on my Yoga Now. And I think I want to make it to where it's just filling in the gaps right here. So I'm really liking the way that looks. I almost actually feel that this can be just a hair smaller. And then I'm just fine-tuning and adjusting it. So I'm really liking the way this looks right now. I think it looks really cute. And one thing I think I am going to change is I'm going to make sure that this is all caps. As you can see, it tried to make it all caps, but because we capitalized the first letter, the first letter is taller than the other ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to highlight that and I'm going to change it to the uppercase. Do you see how the height and the height of the letters called the cap height is changed? So we have our original right here and you can see the total height of the H is shorter than the total height of the T, and I do not want that for this design just because I feel like it's not super consistent. And I'm going to change it and I feel like that cleaned it up a lot. And then I'm just going to scooch that over a little bit, and I can see that I need to shrink it down a little bit because I don't like how close the E is to the edges. So I'm just going to shrink that down, and with my arrow key I'm just going to scooch it over. And as you can see, the font size is 11.4. You can do whatever you want. I believe I had the font size as 11. These are just general guidelines, so you can totally do whatever you want. So I'm liking the way that looks, and I'm very happy with the design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to go down to downloads. I'm going to want my PNG, and since this is a file with multiple pages, I only want page 2 because that's the page of my logo, and I want a transparent background. And what a transparent background will do is it will have a see-through background. So our logo will be the solid color it is like right here, but if you put it on a colored shirt, it will have like no background. It'll just be the background color of the shirt. And we are going to go ahead and click download. And I want to save it as logo 1. It is very important to make sure you know where your files are being saved to and to properly label them, because when you go back to trying to find that file, or you're going to be using this file when we do our mock-up, you want to know where it is, which one it is, so that there is no questioning and it makes the process faster. And this is what our logo looks like mocked up onto a business card. Later in this class, I will be showing you how to do a mock-up, and it instantly elevates your design from concept to practical application. So I wanted to show you something real quick. If you go over to the resize template, you can resize this to any size you want. Sometimes you will do a 500 by 500 size logo. That's standard for logos, but you need another file that is bigger, say for a website banner. So then you can click on 3000 by 3000, or you can do any size you want. You can copy and resize it. It saves it to a new file, and it resizes it, and you would download it, and you would say like 3000 by 3000 logo 1. So that is super handy when you are creating a logo and creating a logo for different products. This is the end of the tutorial, and you can go ahead and move on to the next tutorial. Hello and welcome to our Logo 2 tutorial. Today we are going to be creating the second logo that is full of bright colors and is a little bit more modern. So you're going to want to open up your logo resources file, and we have the section that we need for logo 2. Now you're going to want to download the files. I wanted to show you specifically how to download this yoga pose file. Within the notes, you can see that we want to download a vector graphic, which is an SVG file. So you're going to go down here, you're going to want to download it. You will probably need an account to do the vector graphic. Now what's so important about this is that it is an SVG file. And that stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. And that basically means that you can go in and you can alter the colors within Canva. And SVGs are kind of what Adobe Illustrator is known for. You can scale them, you can edit them, but just within Canva right now, you can upload them and you're able to change the color and the size doesn't get manipulated if you go too large or too small. Canva Pro has recently added that feature to their software, and it is truly amazing. You can also export your designs as an SVG file, but you can only open up SVG files in certain programs. So the most important thing is that you download an SVG file for that. So once we're in Canva, we're going to go over here and we're going to search for a logo, and we're going to do blank. What we are going to do is we're going to go to the uploads. We're going to upload our media, and on our desktop or wherever you saved it, I've got my mood board for my second logo. I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop that in. And this is a logo that we are going to be creating. And what we are going to do is we're going to start off by making our own background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a page, and I have this background available for you to download if you do not feel like making it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got my page 3. I'm going to scroll up to my mood board. I'm going to color drop this tan for the background. So that is our background color. And then I'm going to go over to elements and I'm going to search for lines. And I am looking for an abstract line. And this is the one that I ended up using. And if you go over to the ... it'll give you some keywords. So it's abstract, lines, crisscross, icon, design, different things that kind of describe it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to go over, color drop the green. And it's this lime green that I'm using. Or if you go into your design resource, you can copy and paste the color hex code for the green that we are using. Now, when we are creating this, we are using the Gestalt principle of creating symmetry and balance. And we are going to be doing that by creating an even lined background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink this down a bit and I'm going to copy and paste it. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of seeing what looks good and what looks balanced, and I'm just going to copy and paste that. So once you have two good ones that look nice, you can just highlight them by clicking on one, pressing shift, and then clicking on the other one. And then I'm going to copy and paste it. And I'm going to place it where I think it looks good. And I think it looks good there. I try to kind of connect the lines. And then I'm only going to copy and paste the bottom one. And I'm going to connect the lines. So this is what it looks like so far. And because I want a repeating background, I'm going to highlight all of them. I'm going to group it so that it is all one solid section. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it up a little bit so that there is some variation. And I'm going to overlap it slightly so that the lines kind of connect. Like right in here, you can see that the lines are kind of connecting. And I'm going to repeat this process. So I've got two columns basically made. I'm going to highlight them both by pressing shift and clicking on one. And while still holding down the shift button, I'm going to click the second one. I'm going to press copy and paste. And this might take a second for it to load because it's doing a lot. And I'm going to connect some lines. I think I like that. Like right in here is where I tried to connect it. And then I'm going to do that one more time to fill out the whole image. And I think I like the way that looks. And when you're doing this, there's no magical way to say, is this balanced? Is this kind of symmetrical? It's just really looking at it and saying, does this look right? Because I can tell you if I, for the sake of it, that does not look right. There's a gap and our eye automatically goes to that. So that would be unbalanced and just kind of weird looking. So I'm really liking the way this looks. And this is a great way to create your own backgrounds and your own patterns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to downloads. I want a PNG, and then transparent background doesn't really matter with this right now. And I'm going to click on page 3 and I'm going to download it. So I'm going to say background. So essentially what we just did is that we made our own asset, which is mind-blowing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a page and I'm going to move it up. I'm going to get rid of the background. I'm going to change it to white. And then I'm going to look for a triangle frame. So I'm going to type in frame, and I am searching for a triangular shaped. And I like this one. And I'm going to enlarge it while still staying within the boundary of the box, because if you go off of it, it'll cut it off. And then I'm going to change this. I'm going to get my color dropper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll up to the mood board. I'm going to grab the color dropper and I'm going to change it to this lime green color, and that is going to be the edge. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy and paste that. And then I'm going to go to the uploads. I'm going to upload a media, and we're going to upload our background. And I'm going to drag and drop that in there. And I'm going to shrink it down so that there's a border. And I can just shrink it down a little bit more, I feel like, so that it's got the same pretty much width all the way around on the green. So that's looking good so far. So then we're going to upload our yoga position. And as you can see, it's a .svg file. We are going to open that up. We are going to place this, and we are going to create a solid line where it looks like it's going directly through. So we're creating this line all the way through. And as we can see, we need to make the triangle just a hair larger so that the arms are on the green. So this is what we've got so far. We have the yoga position, and we have the green background, and then we have this abstract looking background. We're going to take our yoga position. We are going to go over to the color, and we're going to get the color picker, and we're going to make it the same color as the border. And as you can see, the bottom's got a little gap there, and what I want to do is I just want to make it a hair larger. And I can make my triangle just a hair larger. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to make the green part a hair larger. And I feel like I need to move up this area. Okay, that looks pretty good. Except for the green part looks a little off. That looks a lot better. Okay, so we have a Gestalt principle right here. It's the foreground and background, where we are blending the lines between what is the foreground and what is the background. Mind blown, am I right? So we have this right here, and what we are going to want to do is we are going to want to highlight everything since we like the size, and we're going to shrink it down so we have room for the text. So now we are going to have room for the text, but before we do that, we are going to want to lower the transparency of the green border and the person. So if we go back to our sheet, we can see that we have a transparency of 85%. So basically, transparency is how see-through something is. So I'm going to go over to this little checkerboard. I've got my person highlighted, and I'm going to lower it down to 85. And what that did was that it made it transparent to where we can start seeing the background pop through on the person, and it just makes it a little bit more visually interesting. So the same way with the green triangle, we are going to lower it down to 85 so that it matches the transparency of the person. So this is what we have so far. What's beautiful about logos is you don't have to have a tagline with every logo. It just depends on what the client wants. For this one, we're just going to put Yoga Now underneath here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to text, add heading. We are going to go Yoga Now. we're going to do the little a, big A, make it all uppercase, and we are going to be using Railway Thin. And what we're going to do is we are going to enlarge it so that it's the same length as the bottom of the triangle. We are going to go ahead and color drop it to the green, and then we're going to highlight it, and we're going to make sure that the transparency is also 85 so that it all matches. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it around with my arrow keys to fine tune the placement of it to where the top of the letters are just touching the bottom line right here. So it looks like a continuation. And I can see that I can just go slightly larger with this. And I am loving the way that looks. Also, it kind of goes with the idea of continuation. Because it's a triangle shape, this just naturally flows with the structure of the design. So we have this done. We're going to go to download, PNG. We want a transparent background, and we will do page 3 or whatever page your design is on. And then we will click done and download. And now it is downloading our design. I'm going to label it. Creating a properly labeled file is very important, and it makes your job easier when you're looking for files, or if you're doing a mock-up, you have the exact name of the file. So I'm going to do logo 2. I'm going to save it, and it'll be saved to my desktop. And once again, you are going to want to remember where you placed your stuff because we're going to be adding these to mock-ups. So if you really liked this tutorial, please leave a review and move on to our last logo design. So go ahead and move on to the next tutorial. Hello and welcome to our final logo design of this course. Today we're going to be making our last logo design, and this is what it looks like. So you're going to want to go into the logo resource sheet, and we are on logo 3, and you're going to want to go and click on the link and download the vector graphic. Once you have that downloaded, we are going to go ahead and get started in Canva. So once you're in Canva, you're going to go over to the search Canva, and we are going to go over to a logo. Now, the first thing you are going to want to do is you're going to go over to the uploads, and we are going to upload our mood board, and we are going to do logo 3. And I have this in the resources section of the lecture, so if you want to download that, you can. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to upload my vector graphic file that we just downloaded. So this is the logo that we are going to be making for today. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add in our person, and we are going to enlarge it so that it's still within the artboard. And then I'm going to copy and paste it. And what I'm going to do is, while it is highlighted, I'm going to scroll up to my mood board. I'm going to go over to the color. I'm going to go over to the color wheel, and I'm going to pick this light blue turquoise color. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink it down a little bit, and it has a slight offset so that you can see the black peeking out behind it. Now this offers really nice contrast within the design. It helps the turquoise pop, whereas if it was just turquoise, it might be kind of hard to see. So that's the reason why I added kind of the black silhouette to the background of it. Now what we are going to do next is we are going to go over to text. We're going to click add a heading, and I'm going to put in Yoga Now. And since I'm going to have it all capitalized, I just did it all in lowercase letters. And I am going to go back over to my reference sheet so I can see what font I used. So it looks like I used Playfair Display, and I'm going to copy that. And once I'm back in Canva, I'm going to highlight my text. I'm going to go over to the text box, and I'm going to search for the font. And there it is. And then I'm going to go over to the ... and I'm going to capitalize it. Now one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge it a bit so that it looks like she is standing on top of the Yoga Now. Now one cool thing that Canva does have is if you go over to File, Show Rulers, you can see that they have rulers right here. And if you click on it, it'll draw this line and you can align things to it. So I'm going to do one there, and I'm going to do one to the edge of the font so it's touching each of the Y's, as you can see. And then I'm just going to enlarge my person to fit within these two lines. I can just shrink it down a hair. So right here, what we just did is we created symmetry and balance by making the person the same length as the Yoga Now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight everything. You can click your mouse down and drag a rectangle over it, and I'm just going to move that up. And if you need to fine tune it, you can always use your arrow keys to move it up just a smidge at a time. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to go over to my elements. I'm going to go over to shapes, and you can either search for the shapes or they have it just right here, and I'm going to use a rectangle. Take my rectangle and I'm going to do position, bring it to front, and then I'm going to use these little tab things in between the two corners, and I'm going to make it thin so that my text can fit in there. And I'm going to expand the sides, and then I'm just going to make it a bit thinner. And I'm going to move it up with my arrow key so that it is at the bottom of the Yoga Now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to black, because then we're going to put our tagline in here. And what this bar does is that it adds a little bit of visual weight to the bottom of your logo to just help weigh it down. And that also helps to create symmetry and balance within the design. So I'm liking the way this looks. I'm going to go back over to my reference sheet, and I'm going to copy and paste my tagline. Once I'm back in Canva, I'm going to go over to text, add subheading. I'm going to paste that text in there, and then I'm going to stretch the boundaries of the text box with this little arrow so it's all on one line, and I'm going to change it to capital. And then as you can see, I'm going to have to increase the boundaries of the text box, and I'm going to shrink it down a little bit so that it stays within the artboard. Now I'm going to head back over to my resource sheet, and I'm going to copy and paste my font, and then I'm going to make sure my text box is highlighted. I'm going to go over to the font panel, and then I'm going to paste that in there, and I'm going to get rid of the bold, and then we can see that there is the font, and then you can just click bold over in the panel here. And that looks very nice. I'm going to decrease the size of the boundaries of the text box. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my font, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the font. I'm going to go over to the text color. I'm going to go over to the color dropper, and I'm going to drop it with the same turquoise color. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and I'm going to enlarge it by clicking on the little circle on the edge and making it larger. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make it as large as touching the edges of the box because I want a little space there. And I'm going to scooch these off my artboard. They'll disappear, and I'm going to look at it, and I can see that I think the text needs to go over a little bit. And I think that looks really nice. I'm liking the way it looks, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to press down my mouse, and I'm going to highlight it over everything, and I'm just going to move it down, and I can enlarge it ever so much. And I'm liking the way that looks. So as you can see with the Gestalt principles, we really focused on symmetry and balance within this composition, as well as using contrast to help bring out the colors within the design. So we are done. We are going to go over to the download. We are going to click on PNG, transparent background, and I'm on page 2. And I'm going to download that. And then I've got to label it logo. Oops. 3. And it's going to be saved to my desktop. So this is the end of our logo tutorial, and I'm very excited about the work we have done. The next lecture will be focused on putting these into a mock-up file, and we're going to go back and revise our mood board. Please leave a review and move on to the next lecture. Hello and welcome to our mock-up lecture. Now today I'm going to be sharing with you some resources, and the ultimate goal is to be able to put your design into a mock-up that reflects a real product. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this mock-up resource sheet. And we have 3 resources. One is the Photoshop dupe that we are going to be using. This is super easy to use. I know a little bit of Photoshop, but this is a really easy free version of Photoshop. We also have a website where you can search through different mockups, and this is the specific mockup that we are going to be using. I'm first going to show you our mockup website where you can search for free mockups. And this is what it looks like. So you can choose from books, packaging, phones, posters, just so many things. Or if you had something specific, you can type it in the search engine. So I'm just going to go over to posters and pictures just to show you. So there are a whole bunch of different ones. There are ads on here, so I'm just going to click off that. And there's so many different things you can do. You can do poster mock-ups. You can do just so many different things. Some of these are ads, so you need to be careful. But so like say this framed picture in bedroom, you can go to free download, and it'll redirect you to the website that it is on. You will often have to sign up with your email, and it'll be either emailed with you, or you can download the mock-up and it'll automatically download. So our next resource I'm going to be showing you is the mockup link. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on that link, and we are going to download this business card. And I'm going to download my mockup, and it is downloading right now, and I'm going to exit out of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the Photoshop dupe website. So I'm going to click on the link, and it'll take me here. I think it's called Phototopia. I'm going to exit out of this right here, and this is what it looks like. And what I love about it is that it basically shows you right here how to use it. So you go to a new project, you open from the computer, and you will use a PSD template which is a Photoshop template, which is basically what a lot of the mockups are done in. And it'll look something like p.psd, or you can do like these different files, but we're going to be using a Photoshop file. And what we're going to do is within here is our menu. We're going to go over to File, Open, and in our Downloads folder, we will have our business card mockup. We're going to open that up, and we want to look at the PSD file. And it will open it up. And this is what it looks like. Now, over here are our layers. And you can see that it says business card, edit this, card stack, which is the stack right here. You edit it there, and here are the main layers. So these are in collapsible menus. So I'm going to click on the first one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on card 1. I'm going to double click it, and it'll open up a new tab of this card. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to File, Open in Place, and we are going to upload our logo 1 PNG. And what it does is that it places it within the document. Now over here we can see that there are these icons, and if you click off of that, it will hide that layer of the original design. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to hide your design right here, click on that eyeball. You're going to go over to Edit, and you're going to go down to Free Transform, and you're going to hit Shift, and you're going to enlarge it. Now what that does is that it makes sure that your design is not manipulated. For example, if we went back to Edit and Free Transform, you can skew the image, and that does not look good. So you always want to make sure you press Shift when you click on the edges to Free Transform. So I'm going to go over to File, and I'm going to save my smart object, because if you don't save it within this file, the original mockup will not be changed. And that is what it looks like. I like the white business card logo. I'm going to collapse this menu, and I'm going over to my card stock stack. I'm going to expand it by clicking on the arrow, and I'm going to go over to the color, and you can change it to white or whatever color you want, and then you're going to want to press OK. If you don't do that, it will not save your color choice. And then I'm going to collapse that menu, and I'm going to go back over to my business cards, click on card 2, and I'm going to hide that layer. I'm going to go over to File, Open in Place. I'm going to use my logo 1. I'm going to enlarge it, and I'm going to place it in the center. Make sure you press Shift when you do the arrows keys on the edge. And then I'm going to go over to File and then Save Smart Object. And then if we go back to our tab of our original mockup, so I am liking the way this is done. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to File, Export as PNG. And that's what it's going to look at, and we're going to click Save. Now this might take a second because it is a semi-powerful program. This is what your mockup is going to look like. Now we're going to repeat this process for the rest of the business cards. So we are going to go back to our website, and we can go to the card 1 template, and you can hide this, or you can right click and press delete. I just hide it. And then I'm going to go over File, Open in Place, and I'm going to put my logo 2 in there, choose for upload. I'm going to click on the corner. I will press Shift so that it is not skewed when I enlarge it. And I'm going to place it in the middle. And then I'm going to go File, Save Smart Object. And then when I go back, I can see it right here. Now I'm going to go back to my card 1, and what I want is a black background. So here you can see we have a toolbar on the side, and they have different functions. But what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the rectangle, and I'm going to draw a rectangle over the whole square. I'm going to change it to black. Right now you can tell we can't see our logo, and that's because this rectangle is on top of the Yoga Now logo. And you can change this to the same color as the background of the logo. By going over to Fill, you can double click on the color and you can copy and paste the hex code from the logo resource file. But I like the way black looks. Then I'm going to go over to File, and I'm going to say Save Smart Object. And then I'm going to go over to Card 2. I'm going to hide my Yoga Now layer. I'm going to go over to File, Open in Place. I'm going to go over to Logo 2. Choose for Upload. I'm going to enlarge it by dragging the corners and pressing Shift. And I'm going to place it in the center. And then I'm going to go over to the rectangle right here on the edge. Click on Rectangle, draw it over the business card. And I'm going to take this layer and move it underneath the shape, the Yoga Now shape. We're going to go File, Save Smart Object, and then we're going to go back over to our original mockup PSD. And this is what it looks like. The final thing we need to do is we need to change the stacks of the business cards to match the black. So I'm going to go over to my card stack color. I'm going to go and open up the menu. I'm going to click on the color box right here. I'm going to change it to black, and make sure you press OK because it will not save your changes. It's already been saved. I just want to make sure I have saved it. And then I'm going to go to File, Export as PNG. So it'll say Save for Web. It might take a few seconds to pop up. And then I'm going to click Save, and it'll save it to my downloads. So this is what our downloaded file looks like. Now the reason why I chose black was because I thought it added nice contrast against the green and tan, but it also, I felt, added a sense of technology to the design. So we are going to do our final logo, and I'm going to head back over to my browser, and I'm going to go over to card 1. I'm going to hide all this stuff by clicking on the eyes, go File, Open in Place, and I'm going to do my logo 3. And I'm going to press Shift and hold down the corners, and I'm going to enlarge it. I'm going to place it in the middle. Then I'm going to click File, Save Smart Object. And it said Smart Object Saved. Now I'm going to go back over to card 2 and my tabs up here. I'm going to click on the eye, and I'm going to hide all these layers. I'm going to go to File, Open in Place, and I'm going to do the logo 3. I'm going to press Shift, and I'm going to make it larger by dragging the corners. I'm going to place it in the center. Make it a bit larger. And I'm going to go to File, Save Smart Object. And then I'm going to go back to the original mockup file. And this is what it looks like. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my card stack color. If your menu is collapsed, you can open it up. I'm going to click on this box right here. I'm going to change the card to white. And then if you wanted to, you can click on the background right here and you can change the background color. So this is what it would look like if it was on a gray background. And you can also drag the color picker up higher to make it like a light gray. And I think I like the way that looks. So I'm going to press OK. And that is what our cards look like right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to File, and we're going to go to Export as PNG. And it takes a few minutes for it to export. Then I'm going to click Save, and it'll save it to my Downloads menu. Now you can also click File, Save as PSD. And what that will do is it'll save the PSD file, just like what we downloaded, into our Downloads folder. This is what our final mockup file looks like. Also in our Downloads folder, we have a PSD file. It looks like our mockup picture, but it's .psd. So if you wanted to make changes, you could upload this file in Photopia, I think it's called, and you can edit that file. So what we're going to do next is we are going to go back to our Downloads folder, and I wanted to share with you really quick our file that we got our mockups from. They have a license.txt. It's always important to read this so that you're not violating their terms and agreements for doing this. So it says all resources available for download on my portfolio are free and to use in both personal and commercial products. So that means it's okay if you are selling the specific logo. You can use this business card as a thumbnail, but you cannot sell this file. So you just want to make sure you read it. I always try to be very mindful of this because creating these are very hard to do, and I always want to abide by the owner's terms and agreements because they are letting us use this for free. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Canva, and if you go to all of your designs, you can look through here and you are going to want to open up your mood board. So this is what our mood board looks like, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to the uploads and we are going to upload media, and we are going to upload our mockup of logo 1. We're going to do our mockup of logo 2. And then we're going to do our mockup of logo 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to add a page. I'm going to add 3 new pages. And I'm going to scroll up. And I've got my mood board. And then I'm going to drop in my mock-up of my logo. And I'm going to enlarge it. And then I'm going to center it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same with each logo. So for logo 2, I'm going to, and sometimes you can just drag and drop it in and it'll center it for you. And then I'm going to do the same with logo 3. So here is what our mood board looks like so far. And one thing that I'm going to say is I'm going to make sure that our mood board is consistent with the designs that we made. So this one looks good, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to add 3 more new pages, and I'm going to put the original file. It's called InDesign a flat file, and that's the design that we created just the sole design of the logo. So I'm going to go to Upload Media, and it's on my desktop. I'm going to upload logo 1. I'm going to go ahead and drag it in. I will enlarge it and put it in the center. So logo 1 is complete. We've got our original mood board, we got our mock-up file, and then we got our flat file, which is just what the flat logo looks like. Now we've got our logo 2. And if we look at the logo that we ended up making, we used a couple different elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this person because it's no longer valid because we used a different one. And if you scroll down in your images, you should be able to find it. If not, you can just upload the new image. And, whoops, I'm going to take it, I'm going to enlarge it. And I think I'm going to enlarge it to the same height as the picture up here. And I'm going to click on this image we have right here, and I'm going to click and bring to front. And I'm going to click on the Yoga Now position, bring it forward. And this is what our new mood board looks like. It's consistent with the image we have in here. And then we are going to click on our blank page, and I'm going to bring it up one more, and I'm going to put my flat file in here, and I can't for some reason find it right here because I've got tons of stuff. I'm going to click Upload Media, and I'm going to go over to logo 2, and I will open that up. And I will put that in here. I will enlarge it and put it in the center. And if it looks a little pixely, you could go back into your original design and you can click resize, and you can resize it to a larger size, like 300 by 300 pixels. And then finally, we have our last Yoga Now. We have our mock-up file, which looks consistent with what we have in our design. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I will go over to Upload Media, and it's on my desktop, and I will go to logo 3. I will add a page and I will drop that in. And that looks good. And this is the end of our mood board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Download, PDF Print, and I'm going to download it. And then I'm going to save it as Yoga Now Mood Board. And I'm going to save it. And this is what your mood board will look like. Now, if you are presenting this to a client, this is the time where you will kind of write out basically your speech and how you are going to explain it. Now, you can make the best design in the world, but if you can't verbally explain your design choices, it really takes away from your design. So what I do is I go through here and I write down exactly what we did. Why did I make the color choices? What inspirations did I get from the image? And how that translated into the design. For example, I would say within this composition, I was drawn to the natural aspects of the lily pad, as well as the texture within the pond. To help enforce that within my design, I decided to go with a watercolor background and an overall structure that represented the lily pad. And that is what I would say about that design. So I would go through and I would literally write down this for each design, why I made the color choices. For example, this design, I would say I was drawn to the color green. Within the psychology of color, green often represents nature, and I wanted to reflect that within the design. And I would do that for every one. Now, the best thing that you can do is you can practice your speech, because you want to come across as knowing what you're doing, even if you don't feel like you do. By practicing, I can 100% guarantee that you will come off knowing exactly what you did and how you did it and why. So the best thing that you can do is write this down, and you will keep practicing until you basically memorize it. And then if you go to present this to a client, you will have that already practiced with your PowerPoint. And also record yourself, and you can get information back to see how your body language is. If your arms are crossed, that kind of comes across as being closed off. And if you're speaking too fast, you can stop and you can figure out where you need to add pauses. Something I always struggle with is speaking too fast. So if you think you are speaking slower, slow down the speed that you are speaking. And as always, this comes with time, this comes with practice, and the best thing you can do is just practice. Practice makes progress, and that's all you can really aim for, is progressing to develop your skills within being a designer. I really hope you enjoyed this set of tutorials. Please leave a review, and you can move on to our next lecture. Hello and welcome to our Instagram section of our visual design course. And one thing I wanted to kind of divulge is that I am kind of active on Instagram, and I created all my posts using Canva. So within here, I typically do like Motivational Monday, I do color palettes, and free graphic Fridays. So within here, I either create everything within Canva or I import my photos so that they can be formatted easily so I can upload them to Canva. So for example, like these quotes, I did them directly in Canva. I'm going to be showing you how to create animated quotes, and this can be applied to any kind of posts you want to do. So this is what we're going to be making today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to Canva. Once you're in Canva, you are going to want to go over to the search bar, and we're going to search for an animated social media post, and we're going to be choosing a blank design. Now, what I love about Canva is that they make formatting super easy, and it just really cuts down on the time of making your post. So you can use a template. They've got 1,000 different ones that are amazing that you can use, but we're going to start with a blank one today. And for this, we are going to have a couple of different pages, but we're going to first start by formatting our first page. So I'm going to add 2 headings, and I'm going to put in first and then think. Now we're basically going to have 2 words on every page. So by formatting this to begin with, it'll make creating this project super easy. So I'm going to head over to my project resource sheet, and this is what our resource sheet looks like. I've got a link to my Instagram account as well as to my website, so if you want to go download some free graphics, go over there, download them. You can use them in whatever you want. So our first is in the font Open Sauce semi-bold, and it is a size of 45. So I'm just going to copy the font name, and when I'm back in Canva, I'm going to highlight my first, and then I'm going to type in the font, and then I'm going to go over to ... and I'm going to make it all caps, and then we are going to increase this to 45. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it, I'm going to put it in position, and I'm going to put it in center. So that is what our first looks like. So I'm going to head over to my project resource sheet. So for our think, it needs to be in this font. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I always butcher it. And it needs to be a size of 358. So I'm going to copy the font name, and I'm going to head back to Canva. And then I'm going to click on my think, and I'm going to go to the font panel, paste in this font. It needs to be 358. And as you can see, it is not on the same line. So to do that, all you have to do is click on the side blue bar and expand it to where it's on one line. And I'm going to go over to position, and I'm going to center it. I'm going to put it more towards the bottom. So this is amazing because we have basically our whole file formatted. I'm going to duplicate this 4 times. So our next one will be second. I'm going to go over back to my resource sheet. So it'll be dream. So I'm just going to copy that in, and then I'll paste this in, and it is already in the correct format. I do want this in uppercase D, but as you can see, I need to make it all on one line. And I'm going to go over to position, put it in the center, and then we will put third right here. And then I'm going to head back over to my resource sheet. So for third, we need to do believe. So I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to paste in believe. I will change this to an uppercase B. And then, as you can see, if I hover over this blue side line, it gives me some arrows, and it will make it all on one line. And I will center that. And then we will put finally. And then dare. And then we're going to give our quote credit, and that was Walt Disney. And I will get rid of the think by clicking on it and pressing delete. I will click on my Walt Disney. I will position it in the middle, and it's already centered. Then I'm going to head back over to my resource sheet and see what font size it was. So the overall font size was 97. So I'm going to go into Canva. I'm going to click on Walt Disney and change it to 97. And it made it the right size. So I'm going to scroll back up to my first page, and I'm going to go over to Elements, and I'm going to type in think. And I'm going to go over to this little bar that looks like it has sliders on it, and we're going to click animated, apply filters. And this is the one I'm going to use, and I'm going to drop it in. I'm going to position it in the center and in the middle, and I want to shrink it down. And it could go down a bit smaller. I'm going to position that in the center in the middle, and my think can go down further towards the bottom. And this is how it looks. I kind of like that this H right here is covering up the line of the head. I'm just going to click on that, and I want to make sure the position is to the front, and it is. So this is our first page. We have a few things going on here. We have symmetry and balance because within this design, we have the heavier font at the bottom, and it just helps visually weigh down the design. And we also have high contrast. Now this is going to go into play with the next page. So we have a white background with black text. And I'm going to go over to the second page, and I'm going to click on the second. I'm going to change it to white. I'm going to change the dream to white also. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the back of our artboard or our page, and I'm going to change it to black. And then I'm going to go over to our elements, and I'm going to search for stars. And I'm going to look to see if I see one that I like. And I really like this one. If you click on the dot, 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 it'll give you the name as well as some of the keywords. And then I'm going to put that in my design. I'm going to shrink it down. You can go a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to paste it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, with the second one, flip horizontally. And then I'm just going to move it over to the edge. And that is what it looks like. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm going to get rid of the animated, and I'm going to search for a square in the elements box. I'm going to drop that in, and I'm going to line it up to the bottom part of the third, and I'm going to expand it. I will put this with a black background, and I'm going to go position. I'm going to push it backwards. Then I'm going to click on the bottom where our dream is. I'm going to change that to white. And what I'm going to do is I can see that there's a little white gap where the bottom of the third and the top of the black square does not meet. So I'm going to take the square and I'm going to just bring it up a hair so that it blends in. Here we are using the Gestalt principle between the foreground and the background, where you cannot tell if the white is in the background or if the third is part of the foreground. It's a little tricky, but I really love that principle. It really gives you some great visual interest to your design. And another thing we are doing within this design is creating hierarchy within our use of typography by visually making a distinction between what we believe is the most important and using that as the largest text. For me, I think it's more important to see believe, because when we go through this video, we automatically in our brain go, oh, first, like this is the first picture, this is the second picture, this is the third picture. Our brain already makes those distinctions, so we don't need to necessarily put a whole lot of emphasis within the word third or first or second, because our brain automatically makes that distinction because each of these pages are different. So I'm going to go over to elements. I'm going to search for arrow, and I'm going to go over to the slider, and I'm going to click on the animated and apply filters. So I really like this one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink it down a bit, and I'm going to rotate it. And it doesn't have to be 100% straight. I did it about 112 degrees, and I'm going to shrink it down so I can see it better. I can see that it needs to be a little bit more, and I'm going to see how that looks. And And I'm liking the way that looks. It can be a hair larger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scooch it down with my arrow key, kind of fine tune it. I like that. And that is our third page. And then for our fourth page, I'm going to go up here. I'm just going to copy the square. And I'm going to click on the fourth page and I'm going to paste it in. I don't need it to be nearly that big. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up top. I'm going to send it to back. And then I'm going to change my finally to white. And then I'm going to scooch my square up so that it looks like it's just touching the bottom parts of the finally. So you don't see a visual distinction between the foreground and the background. And then what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move Dare up. And then in my search box over in the elements, I'm going to do a line. You want to make sure it is animated. And you can choose any one that you want. This one's really cool. It kind of takes a minute to go through it because they have so many different ones. And it might take a second for them to load just because they're animations and they just take like a hot second. Just be patient. I'm just looking for one that I like. Probably, oh, I like this one right here. And you can click on the dot, 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 and it is a black and white moving line. And then there are the keywords. You can really use any one that you want. Then I'm just going to put that underneath there. And then for this one, I'm just going to change the font color to white and the background to black. And here is our final quote. Now, there are a few things you can do. For this tutorial, I am not going to choose any animation. So you can click on the animate and you could do the block. But because there is animation within the design, I think that by animating the individual elements to a block design like that, I just feel like that's too distracting. So that's my personal take on that. But you can go over to the animate and you can do whatever you want for each page. But I don't have any animations on the specific page, minus the elements that we have already chose. So I'm going to click on this page. This is how long each page will be there for. So I like 5 seconds. And I like to keep it consistent so that every page has got 5 seconds. When you hit 5, make sure you hit done, not enter, because it will not save it. So I want to make sure I have 5 seconds. This one I do not have 5 seconds, so I'm going to click 5, hit done. And then on this page, I'm going to click 5 and then done. Make sure you click on the page and not the elements or the text or the image or anything. You want to hit the page so that it's outlined in blue, and that one is 5 seconds. So up here, you have what you're going to name it. I'm going to name it Instagram post. And then we have a share button, and then we have this play button. This will give you a preview of your video. Now for the timing, I was always taught for videos that you will want to be able to say the words 2 times. So I'll wait till the next one. Finally dare, finally dare, finally dare. So that's about 3 times I can say the words, because when you see words on a video or a design, you need to be able to read them through a few times so that the audience has enough time to comprehend what they are seeing. That is what I was taught when I was in school. I can definitely see the difference. Like if I'm watching a YouTube video and the text flies by too fast where I can't even read it all, it's just kind of frustrating. So that's my 2 cents. I think if you can read it through twice or 3 times, you're good on the timing. So say if you couldn't read it through that fast, change it to 6 seconds or 7 and see what it looks like. I wouldn't go under 5 seconds per slide. So once you're done, you're going to go over to download. This is going to download in an MP4 video. We want all pages, and we are going to click download. Now this will take some time because it is doing a lot of work. It's basically exporting a video with animations in it, and it'll take a few minutes. So mine is all done. I'm going to save it. And this is what your final video is going to look like. Now, what I typically do is I will email this to myself on my phone. I will save it to my phone and upload it to Instagram from there. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I think that it is amazing that Canva is allowing you to do animated posts and videos and a whole bunch of different interactive designs as opposed to just doing a static design. I love Canva. You're never going to hear me speak badly about them because they are constantly revising and improving the program to allow creatives to create new and amazing projects. So I love Canva. It's amazing. So I'm going to have you move on to the next lecture where we will be making an Instagram story. If you like this tutorial, please leave a review and move on to the next tutorial. Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be making an Instagram story using Canva. A great thing about Canva is that it makes it easy for you to promote your own business or your own brand. And I decided to create a Insta story for one of my courses on Udemy, and this is what it looks like. So what I want you to do is I want you to download the resource file sheet and meet me in Canva. So once we are in Canva, we're going to go over to the search Canva bar, and I'm going to type in Instagram story. And we are going to start with a blank design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my resource sheet and I'm going to grab my background color. And if you scroll down to the last page, you can highlight this hex code. You can copy it. And once you're back in Canva, you can click on the background of your page, go over to the color wheel square and just paste it in, and that is what it looks like. So I'm going to duplicate this page because I know that I have 2 pages that are going to be solid green. I'm going to add my text. I'm going to enlarge it a bit. And then I'm going to copy and paste it a couple times because I know that I'm going to have like 3 or 4 lines of text. So I'm going to head back over to my resource sheet and I'm going to look at it. So are you ready to create custom t-shirts? So I'm just going to go ahead and get my font. It is this Barlow semi-condensed bold. It's a mouthful, but hopefully I didn't butcher it too badly. And I'm going to go back over to Canva. And I'm just going to click on the text box, type it in, and I'm going to change it for all of these. Now, as you can see, it does not look outlined. We need to do 2 things first. We're going to click on our font, we're going to go over to ... and we want to make it all capital. And once we have that done, we're going to go over to this effects panel, and they have a whole bunch of different effects. So you can do a shadow, you can do a lift, you can do splice, echo, glitch is pretty cool, neon, and a curve. But we are going to do hollow, and what that does is that it creates an outline. And then I'm just going to do that for all of them. And to say if you didn't want that hollow, you can just click none and it'll undo it. So here is what we have. So we're going to put R, U, and then ready. And that is what's going to be on my first page. So I'm going to highlight them all by clicking on one, and I'm going to press Shift and it'll highlight them all. And I am going to change it to white because I feel like it has a better contrast on the green background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge it. And I'm going to create hierarchy by creating contrast between the text size. Now I have an estimate of what text sizes they are on the file resource sheet, but how I generally do this is I start with my bottom word, which is ready. I get it however big I want it, and I think that looks good. There's still some room on the outside edges, so it doesn't go past the border of the artboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to File, and I'm going to go Show Rulers. And that brings up this ruler on the side. And what I typically do is I will drag it so that there is either one letter on each side, and I will enlarge the word above it to be lined up. So you can see that the Y is lined up with the E, and the U can be just a hair larger. Than the D. So we created hierarchy by changing the size of the font. And then the same way for here, I'll probably just do it the same size as the O. So that the R is the same size as the O in the center. So we created hierarchy by changing the size of the text. Now, another thing that I like to do when I think about using typography as a main feature within my design, I think about how you might say it to like pump somebody up. So you might be like, "Are you ready?" So if you're kind of translating that change in the fluctuation of your voice, you kind of start small and then you go big. So that's kind of what I think about when I do a design. Now, what's super cool about Canva is if you highlight everything, press Shift and click on them, and you go over to position, they have this tidy up, and it just kind of visually tidies it up for you. And you can see that it kind of centered it, and then it changed the spacing between the letters. So I'm going to get rid of my guides, and you can just drag them off. And that looks really good. I think that this could possibly go up a hair, but I'm liking the way that looks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a little lazy. I don't think it's lazy. I think it's efficient. You can press Shift, copy and paste everything onto the next page. So I'm going to type in to create, and then I'm going to hover over this sidebar so it gets on one line, and then I'll shrink it down. We'll worry about the formatting later. Custom. And then T-shirts. And then once again, I'm going to hover over this line, and then I'm going to expand boundaries of the text box so that it is on one line. So I'm going to start by shrinking this down to be the size I want. Then I'm going to take my guides over, and I think I'm going to start with the S and with the T, but that looks almost visually off. So I'm going to start it with the hyphen, and I think that looks better. I'm going to shrink this bad boy down. And I'm just fine-tuning the position with my arrow keys. Then I will draw another line by the U to the O. And then I will probably put one by the R and the other by the end of the T. That's what I think. And I'm going to enlarge that. Nope, I think that looks too big. So I'm going to scale it down some more. And visually, I think that looks good. Sometimes you just have to see how it visually looks. So that kind of lines up to the beginning of the E and then sort of to the end of the A. So I'm happy with the way that looks. I'm going to drag these off. I'm going to click on each word, press Shift so that it highlights them all. I'm going to go over to Position and then Tidy Up. And then I'm going to put this in the center, and when it's in the center, it will have that crosshair. So I'm liking the way that looks. I almost think this could just go up a hair. And I think that looks really good. So far we've got Are You Ready to Create Custom T-Shirts? So I'm going to add a page. So I'm going to add about 3 pages. And on Udemy within this lecture, there will be some pictures you can download. So you can go ahead and download those, and I'm going to upload them. So I'm going to go over to the Uploads file, Upload Media, and it is the background, Shirt 1, Shirt 2, and video. So you're going to go ahead and upload those. And once they are uploaded, on page 3, I'm going to put this t-shirt I created on there. And I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to enlarge it slightly. And then I'm going to move it up So I have a little bit more negative space at the bottom to put my font. And then I'm going to put my other shirt. I'm going to enlarge it so that it has some more negative space at the bottom for my font. And then on page 5, I'm going to go ahead and drop in this t-shirt design. So I'm going to go ahead and copy my t-shirt, and I'm going to put create, and I'm going to change it to black, and I'm going to just shrink it down a hair, and then I will position that in the center. I will copy this, and then I will put 14 designs, because that's what you learn to do in this course. Learn to create 14 different t-shirt designs. I will position this in the center. And then for this, I'm going to go over to my elements, and I'm going to search for Canva. And they have these fun little stickers. I like this turquoise color one. I'm going to enlarge it, place it right in the center, and then I'm going to copy this 14 designs, scooch it down here. I'm going to put width, and I'm going to change that to white. And then I'm going to enlarge it a bit. And that's what it looks like. I feel like this can be shrunk down because I want you to see the circle. Then I'll just go over to position and put it in the middle. But I feel like that doesn't look visually right. I feel like right here looks visually right with Canva. So if we look back at this, we have, are you ready to create custom t-shirts? Create 14 designs with Canva. So we are going to add a page, and then I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to put it right here, and then I will put start designing today. And then I'm going to go over to my effects panel, and then I'm going to put none, and I will put it in bold, and I will make it enlarged. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my video tab. I'm going to search for person on computer, and I'm going to see what comes up. So there's a lot that you can do. You may not find the same video that I found because it's hard to look for things on Canva and find the exact same thing because they're always updating what's on there. I like this one. I like this one. And you can pretty much pick any one you want. But say you really like this one and you put it in there, but you can see a lot of the excess paper and stuff. You can double click on it and you can basically crop it. So I'm just going to enlarge it, and then I'll just scoot it over so you can't see a lot of the stuff. Problem solved. It's literally that simple. So I'm going to go back to my uploads, and then I'm going to take this one with the Canva on there, and I'm going to enlarge it to fit the same size of the screen. And then I'm just going to kind of center it on there. And I can see that I've got, for some reason, this little white bit. If you move that arrow up a hair, you will get rid of it. So that looks good so far. The last thing I'm going to do for this page, because there's not a lot of contrast between the words and the background is I'm going to go over to my elements. I'm going to search for square. I'm going to change it to white, and I will enlarge it. And I've got it enlarged, so I'm going to lower down the transparency to about 48. Position, I will push it backwards, and then I will, as you can see, this is brighter than the foreground, so I just need to push this one backwards so that it's behind that white square. So I'm liking the way that looks, and then on the final page, it changed it to the automatic green, which is what I wanted. I'm going to copy my Start Designing Today. I will paste it down here, and then I'm going to tell them where they can find my course, and I'm going to give credit to the musician. And then I'm going to copy t-shirt design for beginners using Canva Pro. I'm going to paste it in here, and I'm going to shrink it down a bit, and I'm going to change this to white. I feel like white gives a good contrast to the green background. Then I'm going to copy and paste that. I'm going to put link in bio. I feel like maybe that could even go on one line. Link in bio, and then I'm going to give credit to the music that I will be using. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to my file resource sheet. And then I pasted in my music. I'm just going to stretch it out so that it's on one line and then shrink it down for the bottom. And I feel like I like this better. I'm going to make it larger. And I like the way that looks. So what we're going to do is, the music that I used was a Little Joy. And I'm going to go over to audio, and I will search Little Joy. And I'm going to click on that. And then what it did was it automatically added the music to it. So what Canva already does is that it highlights the section of how long your video is. So you can scooch that around if you want, like, the end. But I like it at the beginning. So what we are going to do is we're going to animate our text. Now in the previous one you saw that I did not animate my slides or my pages because there were elements animated within it. So for this one, I'm going to click on my page and I'm going to do block. And it does the block movement. You can do fade, pan, whatever your heart desires. I like the block. And I'm going to do this for 6 seconds. I'm going to click on page 2, animate, block. I think I'm going to do that for 7 seconds because there's more text on this page. And then for this one, so I'm not going to animate pages 3, 4, or 5 because I feel that when you are doing a video, you have a short attention span. It's easy to bounce off videos. If you think you know what's coming, you get bored with it. But by changing up the visuals within the video or your Instagram story, it'll help keep your audience interest. So page 3, that only needs to be 5 seconds. Page 4 only needs to be 5 seconds. Page 5 needs to be 5 seconds. So I'm going to click on my page 6. As you can see, I can't get to the part where you can see the animation feature. So I'm just going to scooch down this top layer and then I can click on the actual board and it gives me the amount of time. This is 11.4 seconds. It is that length because that is the length of the video within page 6. So I'm just going to do that for maybe 6 seconds, I think is a good time. And then I'm going to go ahead and scooch that back up. And then page 7, I think it'll be like 8 seconds because there's a lot on that page. So it is time to label it. I'm going to put Instagram and then we're going to preview it. So to me, that looks good. The timing seems on point. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? I can get it about 3 times. To create custom shirts. To create custom shirts. 2 times. Create. And then you could see the visual design of the shirts. So I feel like this is good timing. I'm going to go ahead and hit download MP4 all pages. I connected my social media accounts already, and it says that your one design use for the music license will be registered to your account. So I am not a lawyer. Make sure you are using this within the right license agreement. That is why I credited the music at the end, just to make sure that I 100% tried my very best not to be copywriting. I don't think I am, but there's always that chance. I am not a lawyer. This stuff's still very confusing to me. So I'm going to hit download. And this might take a second because you're downloading a video. It takes a few minutes to export. So it is done downloading, and I'm going to click save, and it's ready to upload. So what I typically do is I will email this to myself, and I will save it to my phone, and then I will upload it to Instagram from there. If you liked this lecture, please leave a review and move on to our final section where we are going to be creating some fun wall art. Hello and welcome to our wall art section. Today we are going to be creating this wolf wall art, and there are a few things that are happening within this design. Now, while I study design and I know a lot about design, the trends within graphic design and visual design are always changing. So one tip that I have is that whatever year you are in, you should search like 2021 graphic design trends, and it will give you some great inspiration for art that you can create. It will give you some great inspiration for creating new compositions and designs. So I know that one of the major trends is flat icons or illustrations and a muted color palette. So that was my main design inspiration for this wall art. And my brother loves wolves, and I'm like, he would love this in his apartment. So that is my main design inspiration for this wall art. What is cool is you can honestly create wall art and sell it on Etsy as like a digital download. That'll be like a great starter piece for starting up your Etsy shop. So on my Etsy shop, I have digital downloads that I create in my spare time when I'm bored. So we're going to go ahead and go to your resource file. I want you to download the images, and I will meet you in Canva. So once you're in Canva, you are going to want to search US letter, which is 8.5 by 11, so that you can print this off on your printer at home. Now, I wanted to show you something real quick. If you go over to File, you can click Show Print Bleed. And what this does is that the dotted area is where it's going to get cut off from your printer. You're going to have to trim it down a bit to get rid of the white space on the end. So I'm just going to leave this up as I am designing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my uploads, and I'm going to upload my media for this project, and it should be on my downloads. I've got my Wolf SVG file. Make sure you download the SVG file, and then I've got my Rust picture. Now you're thinking, what the heck? This is orange. There's no orange in the photo. Don't worry, we're going to get to this in the end. So this orange is going to be the last element that we will be adding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over and get my resource file, and I'm going to copy this lightest color, and I'm going to click on my background, and I'm going to paste that hex code in, and that is going to be my background. So I'm going to go over to my Elements tab, and I'm going to type in mountain. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the free section. I'm going to apply the filters. Sometimes the free section gives you more basic illustrations, and this is the one I'm going to choose. You can click on it. It says triangle diagram. So I'm going to click on that, and as you can see, it's just a set of triangles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to enlarge it, and then I'm going to change this red color, and I'm going to grab the darkest color from our file resource sheet. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to click on the square color wheel, and I'm going to paste it. So I like the way that looks. It gives it a cool color. It makes it just slightly lighter in places. I'm going to copy it, paste it, and then I'm going to move it over about right here. So here are our mountains, and then I'm going to go over to Elements. I'm going to search for circle. It's going to be my moon. Keep in mind that what is going to be shown is within the dots, and I think I like that. I want my moon to be behind my mountain. I'm going to click on the moon. I'm going to go to position. I'm going to push it backwards. So that looks good. I'm going to head over to my resource sheet, and then I'm going to copy this middle color. The hex code is what I'm copying. I'm going to click on my moon, and I will paste that in, and then I'm going to grab my wolf, and I'm going to enlarge him so that he is at the bottom of the page. And I like the way that looks. I feel like my moon can go down a hair, and it can honestly be enlarged a bit. I think it'd be a bit larger because I don't want to see the background between the mountains. And then I will scoot this over. And I'm really liking the way this looked. Now, the reason why I downloaded the SVG is because it gives you the option to change the color of the wolf, but I like it in black the best. So this is what our image looks like so far. Now, this is going to be the crazy part. We're going to go over to Elements, and we're going to search for a frame. And you can pick whatever one you want. Just go ahead and plop it in there. And we're going to enlarge it so that it is over the top of the entire composition. I'm going to go over to my uploads. I'm going to plop in my orange rust picture, and I can see that there's a little gap on the corner, so I need to enlarge it so that there's no curvature or anything. I'm going to click on my photo. I'm going to go over to filter. I'm going to put it on street, and that made it black and white. Then I'm going to go over to my transparency, and I'm going to bump it down to about 22. And that is what our design looks like. It gives it a nice, like, grungy texture. It's still a flat design, but it just adds a whole lot of visual interest in it. It makes it look like really old. So what you're going to do is you can download a PDF print if you are selling it. And then I also download a PNG file. We don't need a transparent background, and I'm going to download that. I'm going to put wolf PNG, and I'm going to save it on my desktop. And this is what your file should look like. Now, this is the end of this lecture. I'm going to show you real quick how to mock it up again so that you can have a nice thumbnail if you choose to make some digital downloads for Etsy, or if you want to sell this on your own website or something. So if you liked this tutorial, please leave a review and move on to the next tutorial. Hello and welcome to our mock-up tutorial. Now you're going to want to open up the mock-up Photoshop dupe, and then you are going to want to click on the mock-up link, and you are going to want to download this mock-up. So all you have to do is scroll down and click download here. Once you get here, click download. And this is up to you. You know, Google Drive can't scan this file for viruses. I've downloaded it. I haven't gotten a virus, but it's up to you what you want to do. I have been downloading these files since forever. You come across a few shady ones, but they look shady on the website. So you definitely don't want to download those. But this one, it looks fine. It's on Behance, which is a part of Adobe Illustrator. So it's a good mock-up. Okay, so once you're in Phototopia, once again I butcher names, you are going to want to go to File, and you're going to want to go to Open, and you are going to want to open our folder that our mockup came in, and you are going to want to open the PSD file. So this may look familiar. We've got our layer panel. We've got our toolbar on the side. Now this says delete. Thanks for downloading it. We're going to click on the eyeball. That will highlight it, and that got rid of this text down here. So if you look down there, it's gone. We are going to go to frame and collapse that, and then we're going to go over to replace me. Double click on that, and then we're going to click the eyeball so that it goes away. We're going to go to File, Open in Place, and then on my desktop I have my wolf PNG saved. Choose for upload. And as you can see, this is slightly too small. All you have to do is press down on the corner, hit Shift, and enlarge it so that it is covering the whole page. And then you're going to want to go File, Save Smart Object. This will not show up in the original mockup file if you don't save it. So then I'm going to go over to the original mockup file, and there is our photo. So this is honestly amazing. It took your design from just a concept in a program to an actual mockup. I love mockups. It is the #1 way to instantly elevate your design. I'm going to go to File, Export as PNG. It'll take a second. You can scroll out to see the whole photo. And then I'm going to go Save. It saved it to my Downloads folder. This is amazing. It literally took a few minutes to do this, and it is well worth your time to do this. If you enjoyed this lecture, please give it a great review and move on to our final tutorial. Hello and welcome to our final wall art tutorial. I'm going to be showing you how to create a water style design from a photo. This is way easier than what you think, and I personally can't paint. I wish I could. I've tried. I just don't have the knack for it. And in this way, it kind of gives you a cute, custom design. So I want you to go ahead and go over to your resource sheet. So within your resource sheet, we have the mockup file we'll be using later, and the other is our watercolor photo maker. Also within this lecture, underneath the file resources, there will be a photo for you to download. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the link to this website. So this is what our website looks like, and it's really cool. I happened to I don't even know how I ran across it. I was doing some research. I saw this website and I'm like, this is super cool. I'm going to use it. So all you have to do is you're going to go over to choose photo. I'm going to upload it, and the original file for this is a picture of my dog. And I chose this specific picture because A, it shows that you don't have to be an amazing photographer. You can see this is literally my dog sitting by the gate to go downstairs. This is when he was younger. He was a nightmare. He'd go downstairs, chew up things, and now he is almost 6 years old and he's calmed down significantly. He can roam around the house all he wants, but that was just kind of for everyone's safety, this weird gate up here. So all we're going to do is we are going to hover over the corners and we are going to drag it and crop out the nasty looking gate and highlight this adorable looking dog. And I like the way that looks. I'm going to click crop and then I'm going to click go. And it is doing the work for you. And that is what it looks like. How adorable is that? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to download large, and it saved it to my downloads folder, and this is what it looks like. That is stinking cute. I can't even right now. We literally created this cool file in a few minutes. This is amazing. It's fun. This is what I love about design, is that you can pretty much create anything that you want as long as you know the basics. And we have learned about hierarchy and color combinations and Gestalt principles, and now we can actually put this stuff into practice. So this is the end of this lecture. Please move on to our final lecture where we're going to be throwing this into our mockup file. Hello and welcome to our final lecture. What I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and click on the link to our Photoshop dupe, and then come back and click on the link to the mockup file. Now here is what it looks like. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the download. Now some you have to put in your email address with it. So you just go ahead, enter in your email address, click I am not a robot, and then you can click download, and then in a few minutes it will be sent to your email address. And if you don't see it in there within a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes, check your junk email because sometimes it gets sent there. So once you have that downloaded, meet me on into our Photoshop dupe program. Okay, so once you are in your Photoshop dupe, you're going to go over to File, Open, and mine is on my desktop. And once you click on the folder, you're going to open it up, and you want to open the PSD file. And here is what it looks like. So over here in the Layers menu, you're going to double click on the replace your artwork. We're going to hide the text here. We're going to go over to File, Open in Place. You're going to open up your watercolor file that we downloaded. I'm just going to press Shift. I'm going to hold down the corner, press Shift, and enlarge it. And I'm going to click File, Save Smart Object. And then I'm going to go over to my original file, and that is what it looks like. I never stop getting impressed by how easy it is to throw your designs into a mock-up. Like, especially with this Photoshop dupe, it is just amazing. Like, oh, I cannot tell you how happy this makes my heart that they have amazing programs that don't cost anything and mock-ups that don't cost anything that really help designers to show off their work. So we're going to go over to File, Export as PNG. It'll take a second. You can scroll out if you want. I don't know why it always jumps in so large, but I scroll out, save it. It'll save to your downloads or wherever your files go to when they're saved. This is what it looks like. So I'm very, 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 very proud that you made it through this whole course. This was a lot of information, but all the information was extraordinarily valuable, and I know that it is going to aid you in creating new and amazing designs. If you enjoyed this course, please leave a review. I really enjoyed my time with you and showing you how amazing visual design can be and how much you can learn from this subject. So please leave a review, and I hope you have a wonderful day.